This is physics. So we're done. I found problem is it didn't conform. That's why I cannot my problem. So the problem is the reason is I have to assign it because I have to get the progress. So the thing is that they just convert the file to so that and upload next to the same thing. The same thing, but the platform we should not do anything because we do not have student information. Yes. But the professor may have student information, they have email, they have
Now you know.
no. So we're gonna do the F file.
Just want to have a stress in your life.
I have a 6 months that is using
Now you learn some things.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Alright. Good job. Thank you. Good job. Hello, everybody. How are you today? So far? Good, good. Okay. We're not going to do any reviews today. We go straight to chapter 6. Okay? So here are the handouts for chapter 6. Not very long. Okay? How are you doing? Alright, more? Okay. Alright, let's begin. Are we supposed to? It's already 5 minutes. 1 second, everybody. Hold yourself together. Okay, guys? Okay, we begin. Ready? very unusual day today. Everybody's tired. Everybody's feeling hot. Everybody's feeling hungry. It's a weird day today. It's very weird. Okay. So welcome everybody. Sa handout. Here, on your right side. Yeah, you can come. Alrighty, ready? Before we end our area of decision-making techniques, we have to talk about short-term decisions. I'm not going to touch on pricing because we had a lot of exercises there already, okay? So, we're going to do short-term decision-making techniques today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about risk and uncertainty. And that is the whole section about decision-making, okay? Techniques. The decision-making technique started with CVP analysis. Do you remember? Okay. Then, after CVP analysis, we talked about linear programming. You remember that? Okay. That's another set of techniques for decision-making. After linear programming, we talked about pricing, correct? Pricing techniques, you remember? Okay. There are many techniques, and one of the major ones where we had to calculate MR is equal to MC. You remember that? Okay. The fourth chapter in that area is this, short-term decision-making. Okay, so what are the techniques we're going to learn today? Here is another set of decision-making techniques. And the last chapter on decision-making technique is about what techniques would you use when there are risks and uncertainty. Okay, risk and uncertainty. So that will be tomorrow. Chapter 7, right? So, after the decision-making technique area, we go to budgeting. Remember, how many areas in our syllabus? You forgot. Okay? Right, so there are what? There are about 5 areas, correct? 5, right? 5 areas. Now, alright, so, decision. In this particular syllabus, we will talk about the concept of relevant costing. I'm sure this is not the first time you heard that, okay? Also, the other thing is we need to be able to talk and say how to determine what are relevant costs, okay? And then we will look at opportunity costs, and we will need to learn how do you make a decision whether to make in-house or to buy the components from outside, from a source. Okay? Remember, we're making decisions. And another thing is, alright, you need to be able to talk about, other things such as qualitative information when making decisions, okay, and one-off contracts, or if you want a product that you want to produce, do you want to sell as it is or process further? So many short-term decisions we're going to talk about here, okay? Now, so in this chapter, we look at different decision-making, short-term decision-making. Why short-term? There's a difference between short-term and long-term decisions. What would be examples of long-term decisions? Long-term decision, something that is training? Training is a short-term decision. You decide to train now or not, so it's short-term. What is a long-term decision? Investments. Long-term decision, would I set up a factory or not? That's long-term investments. Will I buy this vehicle, delivery vehicle, or will I not buy it? Okay? Because that asset will serve me for a long time. But what is a short-term decision making? Okay? Short-term would be, will I buy this material or not? Yeah, the short-term. It's going to happen and it will serve me for a in the quarter or in the year. Okay? Will I accept this special order from the customer? Okay? It's a one-off order. Should I shut down or do I discontinue a product or not? Okay. Now, again, you might probably say, but that's a long term. Now, in this case, we consider it short term, and I explain to you why. Another short term decision is, okay, I can make the parts or I can buy the parts. For example, if you're making a cell phone, the cell phone company can choose two things. They will buy the parts from a supplier or make the parts. Because remember, the assemble is correct. That's a short term. The people who produce oil, they can either sell the oil as it is or they process further into small containers and sell it retail. You understand? So it can be those kind of short-term decisions. So how do they make those decisions? And this is what the discussion here today. Our decisions can be accept or reject an order from a customer. Or, what did I say again? Make or buy. You remember what I said earlier? Make the parts or buy the parts. Outsourcing. Will I hire my own cleaners or outsource it to another company? Okay. Or should I shut down a particular department or close as a branch? What should be my minimum price? That's a certain decision. Or what should I do with the product? Do I sell it as it is or do I process further? With all these, I need to apply relevant costing. Okay? So what would be considered relevant at the point of decision making? Do you understand? Okay? There are things that are relevant at the time you are making the decision. There are information that is not important at the time of making the decision. Okay? So what are they? This is what we're going to talk about here. Okay? In terms of the exam, relevant costing has been tested in many ways. One of them is, for example, do they further process something? Okay? And then they would actually, and whether to extend opening hours, okay, something like that. So in other words, businesses would like to see, should I close at 8 or extend my opening store hours to 10? Okay? How does it help the business? All right? Or issues around outsourcing. And of course, there is something, the two basic type of decisions are whether to do something or not to do something. Whether to make the product or not make the product. Whether to close the department or not to close the department. So that's kind of the decision making we're doing here. Okay? Now, when you make a business decision, you always consider relevant costs. Again, let's highlight it. When companies make business decision, always look for relevant costs. Always. Okay? Always look for relevant costs. Now, the question is, what is considered relevant? What is considered relevant? So, first, relevant, I believe your slides doesn't have any notes, isn't it? There are blank spaces. Oh, why is your slide nicer than my slide? Okay, yes. All right. I managed to change it on the handout, but not my slide. Okay. All right, so Relevant costs are, number one, it has to be future, something that will happen from the point at which point future, which means if I'm making decision today, the cost will happen from this moment onwards. You understand? So it will be relevant if that cost will be incurred after I make the decision. You got that? Okay. Second, incremental. What's another term for incremental? What's another term for incremental? Extra? Additional. Correct. Additional. Incremental or additional. In other words, after I make the decision, there will be an additional cost. Okay? Third, it is relevant if it is involving cash. You understand? It's involving cash. That's relevant. Okay? So which means if there is an issue on depreciation, is depreciation involving cash? Yes or no? No! Therefore, it is what? Not relevant. Correct. Therefore, it is not relevant. Okay? Now, avoidable costs. Okay? Avoidable costs. Okay? Means that if something will not happen, that cost will not exist. In fact, if something will not happen, if I will not produce product A, this expense will not happen. So it's avoidable. It means you can do without it. Differential cost is the difference between total costs and other alternatives. So it's the difference between two costs. Now, opportunity cost is also relevant. What is opportunity cost? Opportunity is the benefit you would have given up if you decided otherwise. In other words, it's the benefit that is forgone, disappeared, okay, or is not there anymore because you made the other decision. You got that? Okay. Again, opportunity cost is the benefit that you lose or you do not earn because you actually chose another option. And that you chose another option. Alright, so remember, again. Relevant costs are future in nature, cash in nature, and incremental. Okay? But they may also be what? They may also be opportunity costs. So these are what is relevant. Okay, what are relevant. However, if it is sunk, committed, apportioned, they are not relevant. Now let's take a look one by one. What is sunk cost? Sunk cost has what? Sunk cost? Past. Correct. Already paid for. So if I'm deciding today, something that I already paid for in the past is not relevant to what I'm going to do today. Understand? In terms of decision making. Now it's very important to understand this. When you're making decision, do not think like an accountant. Because accountant always thinks about what was the cost. Yes? Okay. Now when you're making the decision, it's the what is happening now, what is relevant now. What you have paid for in the past is sunk. No longer applicable in the decision-making process. Okay? Now, committed. Committed means it's not been paid, but whatever decision you make today, you still need to pay it. Understand? So which means, will it make a difference in your decision? No. Therefore, it is not relevant. Because already you promised to pay something. Whether you choose A or B, you still need to pay whatever is the expense in the future. You got that? That is committed cost. Apportion. How? What is apportion? Where did you hear apportionment? Overhead. Yes? So, overhead. So, remember overhead? When you actually share the rent, correct? Now, if you share the rent, a portion of it will be apportioned to your department. That's it. Is it relevant when you make decisions? Will it change the apportionment? It will not change. It will remain the same because you share. Okay, you share the cost. It's not something that is incurred by your department or something like that. Okay? So anything that is sunk, committed, apportioned are not relevant. Okay? Overheads and joint costs are not relevant. General overheads. Okay? General overheads that normally don't change. Okay? Electricity, water. Shared overhead, yes. Exactly. Oh, apportionment only is in the overhead when you actually share a certain kind of overhead amongst the different departments. Okay, when you apportion, shared overhead. Yeah. Joint cost. Where do you find joint cost? Anybody knows? Where do you see joint cost? When you have what? Where have you seen that? Anybody knows what joint cost is? When you make joint products. Yes? For example, if you're drilling oil from the ground and you produce crude oil, correct? And when you do that, there's a joint cost to get that item out of the ground, correct? And when you do, you actually process it to come out to have different products, correct? So some of the crude oil becomes gasoline, some of it becomes gas, some of it becomes lubricant, correct? Okay? So the cost of separating the joint products is called joint costs. Okay? Now, if you're going to process further, your joint cost is irrelevant because that is something like it's almost sunk. You understand? It's like sunk cost. Anyways, we'll discuss that later on when we talk about joint cost, okay? Now, controllable cost is one which can be influenced by the manager within a given time span, okay? Now, for example, cost of materials, okay? If materials are not owned by the company, they don't have it, what happens? Okay, you need to buy it, correct? Okay. If there is not in stock, you have to buy it. So you buy it at the current price. So that would be relevant. If the company has the inventory, when you say owned, means when you say owned, it means it's in inventory. So here, not owned means is not in inventory. Okay? If it's owned, it is available in inventory. Okay? So if the item is in inventory, you will have to ask, will it be replaced? If it will be replaced, then you need to replace it. The relevant cost is the replacement of the item. Okay? Alright? Or if it is owned but not replaced, then you'll actually be needing to sell the item because you don't use the material anymore. Then you have to sell it to a, to a vendor. Okay. I'm sure I'm talking like weird stuff, isn't it? So what is she talking about? All right. Let me see if I have questions here. Okay. Here's what I mean. Okay. Let me tell you a story. Let's say a customer walks in the door and asks me to make a special product for that person. Okay? Now, it's a special order, it's a one-off order, and my decision is to say, do I accept his order? And if I do, what would be the relevant cost? Because it's not my regular customer. The item he asked me to do is a special bottle like this. Wow, this is how much you drink. You're good. Okay? This is the special bottle he wants. But he wants something like a gold something here. Okay, so you want, and then this one is not a normal cup. They want like a flower on the top. Okay, so special order. Okay, so what will happen now is first I will need to talk about materials. So I need to know how much is it going to cost me. Alright? Now to make his order, I need a material for the order. The question is the material in stock in my warehouse or not? Okay, you understand? I need to cost out the product. Okay, maybe here, better here. I need to cost out the product. Okay? And I need to know, first and foremost, materials. Do I have the materials of his order? If I don't have it in stock, because he needs something gold, correct? What should I do? I need to buy it, correct? So which means, is that relevant? Let's think. So if I decide to accept his order, that cost of the gold item here is not in my stock, so I have to buy it. So is it relevant? Let me see. Is it future? Yes, I have to buy it if I accept his order, correct? Is it incremental or additional cost? Yes, I have to buy it, no? Separate, right? Is it cash? Yes. So that cost of the material is relevant. Do you understand? I have to buy it because it's not in inventory. You understand? Okay? So if I need, because it's not there, I have to buy it. So therefore, the relevant cost is the replacement cost. You understand? It's the cost of the item that I'm going to buy. Correct? Okay. Current cost. Now what happens? Yes, the material is actually in stock. Yay! Alright? But, wait. It is in stock, but I actually use it to make this product, which is my regular product. Do you understand? So it is in stock because I'm using it. So if I'm going to use the same material to that, what should I do? Yeah, if it will still be used, then I will take and use it, but should I replace what I used? Yeah, because otherwise I will not be able to produce my normal product, yes? So what is relevant? Replacement cost, correct? You understand? What is relevant is the replacement, because I need to replace that item I got from stock. Now, here's the thing. If I don't use it anymore, I have it in stock. But it's been there for a long time. You know, it's almost like slow moving, you understand? Because I don't use it for my regular product. It's something I used long time ago. So the question is, if we don't use it anymore, okay, will we replace it? I will use it for my stock. It's there, but I don't use it anymore for my regular product. Will I replace it? No, I don't need to replace it. So what is relevant? Oh, you see, it has been in my storeroom for a long time and I plan to sell it to a scrap vendor. Do you understand scrap vendor? Okay. It's an old stock. I'm about to throw it away, but somebody wants to buy it. You understand? At a very small price. So, what is the relevant cost? The relevant cost is my resale value. Why it becomes relevant? I'm not going to pay it. This one is considered what? Is considered, this is what? This is opportunity cost. You understand? It becomes relevant because it's opportunity cost. Why? If I'm going to use it for that special order, I will lose the chance to make that $1 per kilo. You understand? Okay, you got that? Okay. I will lose the chance to get money from that scrap vendor. You got it? Okay. So that is relevant. However, what happens if the inventory that I have is very scarce and I cannot, if I use it, I cannot replace it? What would you do? Okay. So then you will have to, you will have to actually see what you would lose. What would you lose? If I'm going to use, listen to this very carefully, ladies and gentlemen. The material is in stock, and I'm going to use it for that. But I cannot replace it anymore. It's not available in the market. Which means I cannot produce it anymore, correct? What will I lose? What's relevant? I cannot make this anymore. What will I lose? What will I lose if I cannot make this? Tell me. I cannot make this anymore, which means I cannot sell it, correct? What will I lose? What is it? Louder. Revenue or profit. You understand? Profit or in specific contribution. You get it? I will lose the profit or contribution. What is that called? That is called opportunity cost. I lost it again. You understand? I lost the opportunity to sell because I'm supposed to make this, but I chose to use the materials to make that, which is a one-off. Okay? One-off. Got that? Okay? So this is the rules when it comes to materials. Okay? Now, what about labor? Alright? Direct labor. Okay? There. So which means if I'm going to use the labor costs, okay, to make, again I will borrow, I will make this product, I need labor, I need to pay for labor costs, okay? Now, if the labor cost, the labor already is paid for, and they don't have anything work to do, if I accept this, then they can start making. Do I pay anything additional? No more. They have spare capacity. Do you understand? Okay. So they can just add to that. Okay. Non-relevant fixed costs. If I add this to making the product, do I have to pay additional rent? No more, because it's just I have the space already. Okay. So the question with labor is something to do with capacity. Okay. First, if the company has spare capacity, okay, spare capacity, what does it mean? Are they busy all day? No, they have some spare time, yes? So which means if I have a new order that comes in, all I need to do is give them the job. No additional expense, right? Okay. So what happens here? Relevant cost is zero, nil. Nil means zero, N-I-L, correct? Yes? Okay, now, what happens? Oh, my staff is already full capacity. They cannot have additional job. What would be relevant then? Two things. I can hire more people, right? So what is the relevant cost there if I hire more people? It's a current rate of pay, correct? Or I cannot hire because this kind of product requires a very, very skilled worker that is not available in the market. Okay, I cannot find any laborer who immediately has the skill. So what is relevant? Which means now I will take the worker who's doing this and ask him to do that. What will be lost then? Again, what will be lost? The contribution, because if I take the worker away from here, what happens to the quantity of this? Go up or down? Down, because now there's missing worker, correct? Then, what happened? I will lose the contribution, correct? The variable cost and, of course, the contribution lost. Okay? Why variable cost? Because this worker that I actually get them to work for that, you have to pay for his salary still, correct? Yes. He has to be paid. Plus the cost of the loss of contribution. Okay? Let's see. Alright. Okay, let's see what is the relevant cost of X and Y to be included in the contract. What is the scenario? Can we read? Okay. A customer comes in and says, can you make me this product? And the customer, this product requires 400 kilograms of X and 200 kilograms of Y. Okay? What is the first question are you supposed to ask? When it comes to materials, what is the first question? What is the question you're going to ask? Is it what? No, this is not, is it relevant? Later, the relevancy is later. What is the first question? I need 400 of X and 200 of Y. What is my first question? Yes, is this available in stock or not? Can you check this? Is it available in stock or not? So X, is it available? Yes. Okay, but only what? Only 300. Why? Is it available? Yes, available. However, next question. X, is it still going to be used or not? No more, right? Yes? Okay. No longer used by the company. X. So, what is relevant? Can you go back to your chart? X, X, X. You need how many of X? 400. Okay. How many in stock?
300.
Okay. So for the 300, is the company still using it? No more. So if you're going to use it for this product or this contract, what is relevant? Scrap value. Because you will be not selling it anymore for scrap, correct? However, is that all for X? There is additional of 100 more, correct? Yes? Okay. So what is the cost of the 100 more? $3 per kilo. What do you call the $2 here? What is this here? Historic cost. Historic cost is what? Sunk cost. Okay? Historic cost is sunk cost. It's not relevant in your decision making. Correct? Okay? So, how do we solve it again? Let's do X first. So this is sunk. So if it's X, therefore, two things will happen. The 300 kilos, the relevant cost is, what did you tell me? The resale purchase price or scrap? The scrap. And the 100 kilos will be the what? The purchase price, correct? So what is so remember, what is the relevant cost of X? What is this one here? This one is 660, correct? And this one will be 300. So what is relevant is 960. Agree? Okay, tell me about Y. What is relevant for Y? Is it in stock?
Yeah.
Yes. Is it still used?
Yes.
Oh, regularly used. So what is relevant? Will you replace it? If you use it, will you replace it? Why you need 200 for that contract? Will you replace it if you're going to use it for that special contract? Again. A customer walked in and said, can you make me this item? He wants you to go into a contract with him to make something. He needs material Y. What is the question again? Is material in stock or not? Yes. Is it going to be used by the business in any other product? Yes or no? Yes. So which means if you're going to use the one in the stock, do you need to replace it? Yes or no? Why will you not replace it? Y is used for their normal other products. Remember that the customer came in with a special contract, asking you to make a special one-time product. The question is, how much is the relevant cost of that contract? Now, if you're going to use 200 200 kilograms of what is in inventory, what happens to the normal business? Will you have stock for the normal business? No. So what do you need to do if you're going to use it for the special contract? You need to do what? You need to replace it. How much is it costing you to replace it? Which means, what is the relevant cost of material Y? Okay, so this one here will be, you need 200 kilograms. You have the replacement cost of that, which means 400 is the replacement cost, is the relevant cost of Y. You got it? Okay, so you don't consider anymore the historic cost. Okay? Alright, so here. I don't know if it's much better than the one we did. Okay? So this is for what again? This is for material X. Okay? Material X. Okay. And this one is for material Y. Okay? Material Y. Alright. What about labor? Okay, here we go. What APLC, this is the company, is deciding whether to undertake a new contract, okay, that requires 15 hours of labor. Now, labor is currently at full capacity. They are making product X. You understand? Okay. What is the cost of using 15 hours of labor for the contract? So, full capacity, which means, what is relevant here? Do I have more information or no? How will I calculate it? What is the first question? Do they have spare capacity? Answer? No, it says already full capacity. So if it's full capacity, can I hire? Does it say there that they can hire? Okay, if they cannot hire, then you have to take laborers out of here, correct? Yes? So, how many would you lose? No. How much will you lose? You cannot hire, correct? If you can hire, then it's cost of hiring. Tell me, how much contribution will you lose? 25? But 25 is for one piece. They're going to use 15 hours. How much? 75. Why 75? Remember, they're full capacity. So you will lose 15 hours. Now remember, to make product X, how many hours product X is required? 5. So which means how many of product X is going to be not produced? 3. So 3 of 25, because this 25 is the contribution per X. Do you understand? Okay. So how many contribution you will lose? You will lose 75, correct? Plus, remember what we said, you have to still pay for the variable cost. You're not hiring, but you have to pay for the worker. Okay? So 15 hours at, where did we get the 6? It's provided for. It says labor is 5 hours at $6 per hour. Very good. Okay? So that is relevant for your labor. So, question for labor would be if capacity is available or not available. Okay? Next question. Next. Okay. Any questions? Sorry, that's what I wanted to say. Any questions? Don't worry, I will give you a lot of exercises today. decision making, we are looking at accept or reject, make or buy, outsource, shut down, etc. We talked about that earlier. Okay? Now, when you have to decide whether to accept a project or not, you need to think, is it going to give you a positive return or will it give you a negative return? So of course, you will accept the positive one. However, if some companies will accept a project even if it gives a negative result, because they would like to undercut a competitor. In other words, they would like to go and make sure that they are competitive with the current competitor. If they want to gain market share or attract a new customer. So they are willing to sell at a loss if they want to actually go against a current competitor, or they would like to sell at a lower price because they have to gain market share. Example would be, you remember Beeline? You remember that? Beeline is a provider of communication services, correct? But when Beeline came into the market, already Hello and Netphone and everybody was already up and selling, correct? So he was the last one. So basically what he did, what did Beeline do? Do you remember what Beeline did? Anybody who was already born at the time? I'm sure you were born at the time. Yeah? So what did Beeline do to go into the market? They sold you at the lowest possible rate. Isn't that correct? Okay, well, forget about that they were, after some time they were sued, correct? They went into court because they were not playing fair. But nonetheless, they sold their offering at a very low rate. Do you remember that? And everybody tried to use Beeline because they were trying to get a market share. And then of course, another way to sell something is to attract new customers. In other words, I would sell the printer at a very low price and even at a loss. Because I want to keep that customer with me because I know once he buys the printer, he will buy the ink from me. You understand? So attracting new customer in that way. Alright? Now, make or buy, as I told you, it's either whether a company would like to make their own product or buy it from outside. Sometimes they have no choice because they don't have enough resources internally. So they either make some internally and buy some. In other words, they don't have enough people to make, but he needs more. So what they do is they will make whatever they can and then they will buy the rest from outside. You understand? So that is the case. Alright? Now, when you buy from outside though, when I try to buy materials or components from outside, there are other considerations. One of the consideration is quality. Now, if I make my own parts of the product, I know the quality I like. Alright? But if I buy it from externally, then I have to actually think, what quality will this third party give me? It will be good quality, so my final product will be good quality. Reliability of supplier. If I start buying from another person, will they deliver on time? Will they be able to supply me after sales service? Third, there's also a problem. If I rely too much on a supplier, what happens? If I rely too much on a supplier, and if that supplier goes bankrupt, what happens to me? You understand? So if you rely too much on the supplier, it may be that one day they go bankrupt and you don't have any more supply for your raw materials. Another issue is, if you buy externally, you are subjected to any price increases. Do you understand? Whereas if you make it your you control the costs, you know you don't have to worry about pricing. Okay? Now, if you get your items from outside supplier, your people inside will actually be doing nothing. The question is, do you have additional other work for these other people that is in your company? Okay? They were used to making the parts, now they're doing nothing. Because you bought the parts from somebody else. Question, can you give them another job within your company? Okay? It's easy to say, fire them, but there are other legal issues to consider. Okay? Because you cannot fire them by the laws of labor law or law of labor unions. Okay? Agreement with the employee. Okay? Or even, you cannot just keep firing because it's not a good sign for the business. Okay? If you hear, for example, Microsoft is firing 60,000 people, you know what will go down? Share price will go down. So it's not as easy as that. You understand? So it's very important to consider these things before you actually say, oh, it's better to buy it from a supplier. There are other things to consider. Okay? And last thing to consider is confidentiality issue. If you choose to get somebody else to make your part, you have to share with them your design of your product. Imagine if Rolex, you know Rolex, right? They want one of their parts to be done by someone in East Timor or in Africa. They have to share with them the technology behind it. Are they willing to share these secrets? Maybe not. Then you cannot just get somebody else to supply for you. You understand? So other things into consideration, not just price. There are other things that needs to be considered. Don't forget, if you're buying something expensive, such as a Rolex watch or a Rolls Royce, would you like to wear a Rolex watch, but one of the parts there is made in Rwanda, for example? Okay, all along you're thinking that everything is from Switzerland. You understand? So it's not also something that the customer would be accepting to have, right? As I said earlier, make or buy sometimes it's because the company have a very scarce resource. So what they need to do is they will try to minimize the cost. Because remember, buying it from outside may be expensive, right? So what will they do? They will try to make as many as they can inside, and they will try to buy the items from outside, that which has the lowest extra variable cost of buying. Okay? So the least cost of outside is what I'm going to buy. I will try to make the more expensive in-house. So if I buy from outside and it's the most expensive, I will not buy from outside. That is the first thing I will produce inside. Because I want to buy at the lowest, the one that has the lowest price. You got that? Okay? Lowest price. I will show you an example. It's there, right? I gave you an example, right? Okay, can you see? Okay, so what happens here? How many products? 2, A and B. What do we have? The cost of making is 16 and 14. Do you see it? The cost of buying is what? 20 and 19. So what's the difference? 5 and 4. Agree? Yes? It's more expensive to buy, correct? So if I buy it from outside, it says, these are the hours I will save if I buy it from outside. Because I will not make it anymore, correct? So, extra variable cost of buying or buying per hour saved is this one will cost me what? $2.50 per hour, and this one will be $2. How did we get that? 4 divided by 2 and 5 divided by 2. So which means, if I'm buying it from outside, it's as if I'm buying the hours, correct? You understand? Why labor hours saved? And sorry, why extra variable cost of buying per hour? Why I'm not not buying the hour, I'm buying the item. But if you're buying the item, means you're saving the hours, correct? So how much is that hour that you saved? Okay? So, this one here, per hour, it's as if I'm buying the hours from outside. You understand? Okay? So, this one will cost me $2.50 an hour. $2 an hour. Which one do you think I will make in-house? B or A or B? I will make A. Remember, I will make the one, I will buy the one that has the least variable cost, correct? I will make this one first. Why that one? Because that's more expensive to buy from outside. You see, I'm paying $2.50 per hour outside. You understand? 2 hours. Again, I will repeat. When I buy from outside, means as if I'm buying the number of hours that I will have to save, correct? Okay? So, look, the letter B, the extra cost of buying from outside is $5. Means the extra cost I'm paying per hour is $2.50. So I'm paying more for the hour if I do B, if I buy the B from outside. So if I'm going to make, which one will I make? Which one will I buy? Tell me. B make, A you buy. You understand? Because it's lower extra variable cost to buy. Okay? Outsourcing. Outsourcing is getting suppliers from outside. Advantages that we explained. What are the advantages of outsourcing? Sometimes when you outsource, you get superior quality because that company who makes it, that's the only product they make. So they make it the best as they can because that's their source. Okay? That's their main item. And what happens? If I outsource, I have people, the area in my office is free. I can actually hire more salesperson, for example. Understand? So, capital is freed up. You have greater capacity and flexibility to address any demands, changes in the business. Because those that is not your core business, you outsource it. Okay? And useful if not enough work to keep internal staff. In other words, if I hire people, but I don't have enough job for them for the entire year, it's better if I outsource some of the work. You understand? Because if I hire people, I need to make sure I have jobs for them for the entire year. Okay? Or for 8 hours a day. If half of the hours they're doing nothing, that's not good. It's a waste of money. So I outsource the service anyway. Okay. The problem is, again, we come to reliability of the supplier, loss of control and flexibility because of course of supply, and of course again, if you outsource, your existing people who used to do it, again, will feel bad, and you have to find work for your existing people. Okay? Alright, so remember, outsourcing is kind of like a make or buy. Similar, isn't it? Yeah? Do I make or buy? Okay. What is the question here? Okay. Should Mars make or buy the component? What do we have? Mars company, can you read it? It's too small. Is it okay? Okay. Mars company makes units Pluto and Jupiter, P and J. These are the quantity that they want in the next year, the variable costs, and fixed costs and committed fixed costs. So incurred as to make the P, this is the fixed cost to make P, to make J, and other fixed costs, committed already. In other words, for example, it's rent. So rent, you go into a contract, correct? So it's a committed cost. Alright? Now, a subcontractor for $12 and J for $21. Should Mars make or buy the components? Can you calculate? Similar to what we did earlier. Can you find out? Remember, similar to what we did earlier? So what's the first step? Compare the what? Yes, extra cost of what? Extra cost of buying. Okay, so did you find out what is the extra cost of buying? When you say extra cost of buying per unit, what are you comparing? What are you comparing? The supplier's price against the what? Which cost? Which cost? Against which cost? What was the selling price of the customer, of the supplier? 12 and 21. I shall compare it with what? By 11 and 17, correct? So, what is the variable cost or extra cost of buying? 1 and what? 1 and 4, correct? Okay, good. Next. What are we supposed to do next? Remember, I'm asking you to make a decision, right? Alright, so, which means now, okay, that's the variable cost. Now, there are fixed costs. Remember, there are fixed costs, right? So, there's a fixed cost for P and a fixed cost for J, right? So, I need to know what is the extra cost of buying. So, here's something different. So I'm going to show it to you. Okay? What did you tell me? How much was the P? Extra cost of P? What was the extra cost you said earlier? $1. Over here was what? $4, correct? So, which means if I multiply this, what should it give me? Okay, so 1,000. If I multiply this, 6,000. Agree? However, you have saved some fixed costs, right? Remember, is there fixed cost for these two items? Yes, 1, 5, and 3. So what is the extra cost of buying? Okay, extra cost of buying. J is 3,000. And P is a saving. P is a saving, correct? Yes? So, what is your answer here? Which one should you buy and which one you should keep and make? Okay, so you will buy the P and make the... Yes, okay, so P should be bought and J should be made in-house. Agree? Yeah? Everybody understood? Questions? All right. Now, all right. Before we go to this problem, let's talk about relevant cost first in our exercise. All right, let's see. Can you open your Google Classroom? Hold on, wait a minute, everybody. Is that not in there? Not there. Okay. I need to get the item. Okay. Okay. Hold on. I have something for you to do, but it's not yet available in the system. Hold on, guys. Alright, here's what we'll do. I'll give you a break so that I can get Nareen to come in. So break time first, okay? Is that okay? Alright. Of course it's okay. Alright. And then at 6:30, when we come back, we will try and do that relevant costing on the screen, okay? Okay? And then we continue with further processing later because that's another set of information. In the meantime, I'm going to get my systems in line. I really need to find Nareen. Where can I find him? Please. the over-absorption is absorbed is more than the actual, then it's over. Okay? The over-absorption, you actually, it's here, but in terms of the profit, yeah, the profit.
Which one is the bracket I should bracket?
No, you don't do anything. You just say over-absorption. No.
So here, right here, right here.
It's opposite. This is the expense, but here you add it back. It's not the income. No, just put over absorption. Just put under absorption. And it's the deduction. Yeah. Over absorb means you over deduct here. So your profit is understated. That's why you have it. Yeah. See, that's the problem. Okay. So how was your exam? Confident, better than before. Good job. Oh, you did! Congratulations! You're more confident in your discursive than the multiple choice. Two. Ah, okay. Sorry. I know. This is chapter 7. What about the chapter 1? I sent it to you. Yeah, I sent it. This is the one I need. Actually, it looks like this. But probably, this is the one that you said you cannot include it, right? This is the one that's good.
Yes.
Can you just print it for me?
Yeah, one.
Yeah. But can I send you the PDF format? Yeah, the PDF so you get it.
Yeah.
Can you just
Is
send
the
it?
original file is here.
Unfortunately, it's here. Can you just make the copies very quickly?
Yeah. So you need to prepare the.
No, it's because we don't have time anymore and it's blurred. So.
I think it's faster than the raw form.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah,
That's what he said. What did
The Do you just write anything using the PDF and write something?
Not in the class. If they take lecture. Okay. Probably. But I have another one. Can you find in your Google, in your email? I sent two things to you. I think I sent another one for the G7. This other six. Yeah?
Yeah, so I'm gonna prepare.
Yeah, the one I emailed you. But this one is an old email. The one I emailed to you
Yeah,
on
yeah,
one
yeah.
page. So this is March 14th.
I think this is the one file that is blur, right?
Yeah, this is the third.
So I'm gonna
I think
prepare.
this is the blue one.
So I'm gonna prepare the copies of it. Copies.
Okay, everybody. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's read the requirements. Okay? In here, in this example that I gave you, it says prepare on a relevant cost basis. Okay? The lowest cost estimate that would be used as a basis for quotation. Okay, so in this quotation, the basis would be the relevant costs. And I ask you as well to briefly explain your reasons why you included a cost or why you excluded a cost. Alright? So that is the requirements. In other words, we need to make a statement of all the relevant costs for this project. Can you go to the beginning now and read what is the situation? What is the scenario? Okay? So read from here what is given to us. I'll give you 3 minutes to do that. So then I will ask you questions. this company makes what? So fast. So they have a decision to make, correct? They have a one-off customer. And we are supposed to prepare a statement of cost. But what kind of cost do we need to include in this statement? Relevant costs. So, but aside from that, you're supposed to give explanation, correct? Put in the note. So, what you'll be faced in the exam, you will be asked to use an Excel spreadsheet. In my opinion, you put the first spreadsheet to be your statement. You understand? And your second spreadsheet would be your what? Your notes. You understand? Your spreadsheets and your notes. Okay. Now, your statement, how many columns will you prepare? How many columns? Because you're going to need to prepare your presentation, correct? So how many columns would you use? Look at the problem. Do you need a description of the items? Yes, so that's one column, correct? Alright. So you need, so what is the company name again? You need highlight, correct? So the first column would be your description. Okay, next one of the expense. Then what happens? Do you need to put in the details of how many meters they need, etc.? Yes. Then what would be your third column? What would be your third column? Could you put, well, you can put your relevant cost, correct? And your last column will be what? You need to put a note, right? Your reference, okay? Note number, okay? Now, you can choose to make it in the middle, but you don't need to do that, okay? They're not going to test your format skills. All right. So first item in the list. Yeah. So, right. So in their listing, they just provide you with the cost. But then here, what we need to do is to find out what is the relevant cost. So first item in our list would have to do with what? Direct. Yeah, we start with direct materials. Okay, tell me, direct materials. What do I have? First item. What is it? Fabric. Okay, tell me about fabric. How many meters do they need? Square meters, sorry. 200 square meters. Okay, since I don't have to the power of 2. Okay, now tell me, what is relevant? Okay, it's materials. What is the first question we have to ask? When it comes to materials, what is the first question you're supposed to ask? Is it in? What? Is it what? Is it available in stock or not? Okay, what did they say? Yes, it is available. Next question. Is it going to be used for something else or not? Yes or no? Yes, it is. Okay, so if you're going to use the item from the storeroom, what do you need to do? You have to replace. So what is relevant cost here? Purchase price of $17. Correct. Okay, sorry, 17.5. Sorry. So the relevant cost is 17.5. Okay. So what would it be here? So 17.5 multiplied by 200. Yes? Now, you need to explain. How will I explain that? I have to put in the notes, correct? I'm sorry, I put it in the statement. We just replace it then. This one, sorry, I was in the wrong. Okay. Okay, so note number 1. What would you like to say? Right? When it asks you to explain, what are you supposed to explain? You have to explain what you just did. So what did you just do? You said you wanted to know if the item is in stock, correct? Yes? So you will have to say, the fabric is in stock and is what? And is used regularly. Okay? Do you understand? So regularly. Okay? Therefore, what do you need to do? Okay, yes. If 200 square meters is used for this contract, what happens? What do you do? Okay, the item must be replaced. Okay, the relevant cost, what? The relevant cost per unit is the replacement cost of what? Of $17.5. Sorry, 17.5. So let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see. Okay, so you understand? Okay, so it's big enough? So that is your note number 1. Okay? Note number 1. And you have your statement. So you know what is expected of you, correct? Okay, now, can you work with your study buddy? And you now continue 4 more. I need the materials and I need the labor. Can you do that? Okay, go. So I need you to continue. There's 1 more material and 2 labor, correct? So you need to complete the wood and then direct labor, skilled and semi-skilled. Need something from me to complete? This is supposed to be an exercise, so we need to work on it. If you want to wait for me to do it, then I might as well do it continuously, right? Okay, let's talk about the wood. Shall we? Are you ready with the wood? You finish? Yes? A little bit complicated, isn't it? So, first and foremost, how many meters of the wood do you need? You need 50 meters, correct? Are they in stock? Yes and no. There's a yes and no issue, correct? They have 500 in stock, right? However, the 480 of the 500 is already going to be used now, correct? So how many really is available? 20. Okay. So 20, if you use it, however, 20, when do they need the 20? They need the 20? 4 weeks. So can you buy it from there are two suppliers in your system, correct? One supplier can deliver in how many weeks time? In 3 weeks time. At how much do they get paid, charge? $8.20. This is your regular supplier, correct? But remember, you need 30 more. Correct? Is there another supplier that can deliver? Yeah, immediately? Yeah, how much do they sell? So what do I write them for? Tell me. In the wood, I have two lines, correct? The first line would be what? 20 meters at what price? $8.20. And the other 30 meters will be at what? 8.5, correct? Yes? So, what will be here? Okay, so 20 multiplied by 8.20, yes? And then 30 multiplied by 8.50. Alright, so what do we have? Do we have note number 2? And what do we want to say in note number 2? Okay, you can even skip a line. So, 30 meters will be what? Or 20 meters, okay, is available, correct? Immediate is available to be used immediately. Okay, and what? What happens? And can be replaced using the regular supplier or the new supplier? The 20 regular supplier or new supplier? Okay, can be replaced through the regular or usual supplier at what price? At 8.20. You would say, but we just put it up there. Why do we have to explain it? The examiner wants you to explain it. Yes, that's why you're putting a note. Okay. Now, what else do you need to state? Is there anything else that we need to state? You have to talk about the 30 meters, correct? Okay. But the 30 meters need to be, what happened? Needs to be purchased from whom? From a new supplier at 8.5. Yes? Per meter. I forgot. 8.5 per meter. Yes. No, it's per meter, not meter squared. Yes, should be per meter. Yeah, I need to, yes. Except for the first one, which is the fabric displacement. Sorry. Should be per meter. Okay. All right. Next one. Labor. Are you ready with the labor? Not yet. Direct labor. There are two kinds of labor. The first one is the skilled labor. Okay, let's talk about that. Skilled laborers, 50 hours. Question. Available, spare capacity or no? The skilled labor force is employed under permanent contracts. And they must be paid 40 hours per week labor, even if their time is idle due to absence of order. The rate pay is 16 per hour, although any overtime is paid time and a half. Yes, you know what it means, right? Time and a half. In the next 2 weeks, there is spare capacity of 150 hours. How many hours do they need? 200 hours. Okay? Okay? Now, so which means, if there is 150 hours spare capacity, is there any payment for that? There is no payment for the first 150, correct? Because there is spare capacity. So what do we need, therefore? I need to get another 50 hours. How? What does it say? Can you get can you get an higher? What does it say? Overtime. This is skilled worker. Okay? You cannot just get them anytime. You want them to work, you have to give them overtime. Which means, what is the overtime rate? 1.5. So what do you do? The regular pay is how much? 16 multiplied by what? Time and a half. 1.5, correct? Or $24, correct? Okay. So, therefore, skilled workers, what would be our relevant cost? Relevant cost would be 50 at 24, correct? Understood? Okay. How do we explain that? Do we need to explain it? Yes, we have to put it in note number 3. Okay, so anybody can tell me how they wrote number 3? Not yet? Okay, so, all right. So again, when it comes to labor, you always start with if there's spare capacity. So you have to say, there is what? There are 150 hours spare capacity, correct? Right? Now, since the order requires how many hours? 200 hours, okay? The skilled workers have to what? Have to work, what do you want them to work? Over time for how many hours? 50 hours at a rate of $24 per hour. And then, if you want, you can show them how you calculated that. You can say 16 at 1.5. There you are. That is your explanation. You understand? Exactly what you just, the thought process. In other words, the thinking process that you did to come up with the answer is what you write. Okay? Is what you write. Now, what happens if you're not sure? Okay? You're not sure. You put what you think is correct, and you write the thinking process that you put in. Do you understand? Okay? Do not just leave it blank. Just put in and thought. They say, maybe this is the amount. Okay? Write exactly what you did. And explain exactly how you thought about it. Okay? Next one. What's the next item? Okay? The next item in the statement would be, what is the other kind of labor? Okay, so you have a semi-skilled labor. And what happened to our semi-skilled labor? Let's see. How many hours? Ooh, they have 300 hours requirements. And there is no spare capacity. How much are they paid now? 12. And if you want them to do overtime, time and a half. Time and a half again. However, okay, another agency in the market is offering semi-skilled workers at the rate of $14 per hour. So what do you want to do? You have a choice, correct? Overtime or, so how much is overtime? 12 at 1.5 is what? Oh, 18. So would you like your normal staff to do overtime or do you want to hire temporarily? So you would hire at what? Yeah, it's cheaper to hire, no? Okay. So what would you do? So semi-skilled, you need 300 hours, correct? At, what is the rate again? 14. Alright, and then you go and put it on your notes. Okay, so what will you put in your notes? Notes would be HL, High Life, correct? Company. We'll choose to what? Choose to hire from the agency because it's what? It is cheaper per hour than what? Than asking existing workers to what? To work overtime. The agency charges how much? 14 per hour. But the overtime rate is what? You told me is 18, which is what again? 12 multiplied by 1.5. Okay. Correct? Make sense? Is there any other expense? We have materials, we have labor, what else? Factory what? Overhead. Okay, so read up on the overhead. Oh, how many hours do they need? 500 hours of factory overhead. But $3 is your absorption rate. $150 is the cost of the factory supervisor salary, and the other $150 reflects the what? General factory costs. The supervisor is paid an annual salary, and is also paid 15 per hour of any overtime he works. He will need to work 20 hours overtime if this order is accepted. Okay, so what is relevant? The absorption rate, is that relevant? Okay, let's check. Is that future? Is that incremental? Is that overhead? Is it absorption? Yeah, what did we say about absorption? You remember earlier? Absorption or allocate, what's the name? Not allocation. Apportionment are not relevant, correct? So the $3 is not relevant. It's a notional calculation in cost accounting. But what is relevant in the overhead when it comes to this order? The overtime of the what? Okay. So how many hours, therefore, we need to only add here? Only 20 hours, which is the overtime work of the supervisor. At what point? At how much is he paid? Okay, so it's 15 per hour. So, which means what is relevant here? Okay, so only 300. Is that correct? Okay, so note number 5. Yeah. Is what? Note number 5 is, what will you explain here? Okay. None of the factory costs are incremental. Okay. So they are not relevant. However, the supervisors, correct? Overtime pay is incremental and is relevant. Okay? That's it. Any other expense? Tell me, any other expense? There's one more, correct? And what is that? What is the next expense? Administration overhead. Alright, tell me about it. This is what does the word say? Number 6 is apportionment. So is this relevant or not? What did you say earlier? Again, apportionment is not relevant. So that's nothing there, 0. Do I need to explain? Of course. You need to explain. Alright, what will you say? You say, this is not relevant. Correct. Yes. Alright, so these are what? You have to explain. These are general overheads and are not incremental. Okay? So no amount is included as relevant. Okay? All right. All right, so what do we do our statement now? What do we need? Do we need a total? So we need a total cost. We have not finished yet. So our total cost, of course, would be a total. So you can actually do a formula where you can take all your costs. All right, so this is your total cost for this problem. Yes? Any questions? So this is an application of earlier discussion about materials, labor, and other expenses, and how to determine what is relevant and not. Okay? Yeah. Questions? All right. Everybody's in line? All right. Can we go back to our slides now? Okay, so this is our example. All right. Good. Now, let's talk about processing decisions. Okay. Okay? Now, as I told you earlier, this decision making is when you have joint products. Okay? Now, either you sell it as it is or sell it as split off. Now, what does it mean? Okay? Right. So, let's say, as I told you, we dig oil from the ground, correct? You take the oil and it is processed and it's called a joint process. Okay? Now, of course, this has some costs and it is called joint costs. From this comes out many different items. For example, gasoline, diesel, okay, kerosene for, or maybe better if we put chemical. And then you can put, what do you call this, lubricant. Okay. All these are called joint products. Now, some of these products can be sold, what do you call this here? This is called split off. Okay? Can be sold at split off, which means immediately, as soon as they come out. Or some of them have to be what? They have to be processed further, okay, before they actually are able to be sold in the market. Do you understand? Because they put them in cans, whatever. Yes? Right? So some of them needs to be processed further before they actually are going to be sold in the market. Yeah? The question is, which ones should be processed and which one should be sold as it is? Right? Now, certain decisions have to be made. Okay? Now, if you sell, if you process further, there will be what? There will be additional costs, but there will be also difference in the selling price. Okay? The joint costs, you remember the joint costs? The joint costs are considered irrelevant. Because the decision point is after the products came out of the split off. Do you understand? So joint cost is considered what kind of cost again? Sunk cost. It's finished. At the time of decision, so let me show you here. Because always you need to look at when your decision making is happening. Okay? So at what point is the decision happening here? Is it happening here or here? When are you deciding? Here or here? After the products came out. Okay? You have to decide after the product came out. So which means this one's here is sunk. It's finished. So you only look forward. Okay? You only look forward. So anything that is in the past is irrelevant. Alright? So, however, you need to look at if you're going to process further, again, consider things like impact on employees, customers, competitors, and suppliers. Okay? So, non-quantitative consideration. Shutdown. What happens? When you shut down a product line, or in other words, discontinue an item, or discontinue a department, or any other activity, what you need to consider is that Why do you do that? Why do companies discontinue a product, a department, an activity? It's because it's what? It's not making profit. Yes? It's making what? It's making losses. Okay? So it's making losses. Or maybe running it is becoming too expensive. Now, normally, shutting down is normally of a permanent nature. Okay? But why is it in the short term? Because in the short, it's putting it in the short term because we assume that whatever money comes out from the sale or from the shutting down will be actually put in to actually pay for the expenses. Okay, so they put it in the short term. Okay, how do we calculate? So first, you have to calculate what is earned by the process at the present time, and then what would be the consequences if they actually shut down? Why? What happens when you shut down? What do? You just don't shut down. You have to what? Sell your assets, correct? What else? Sometimes you have to pay your employees redundancy or separation pay, correct? Severance pay. Now, compare the results and then you decide. Sometimes, some fixed costs will no longer be incurred if you shut down, and therefore, they are relevant. Okay? So if you shut down, there are some other fixed costs that will not be needed to be spent. Now, let's take a look. Example. Alright, so let's take an example. Lewis Company manufactures 3 products: Care, Lucy, and Garrett. KLG. Look at the forecast. Which product is making a loss? K is making a loss. Okay? The directors are considering the closure of Care product line due to the losses incurred. Now, you obtain the following information. Fixed production overheads consist of an apportionment of general overheads based on 80% of the direct material cost. The remaining overheads are specific to the product concerned. Selling costs are based on commission paid to the sales staff. Now, if you determine if Care product line should be closed down and suggest other factors that you would consider prior to your final decision. So, what would you do? If you close down Care, how much sales would you, what happens to the sales? This one will not be there, correct? How about material costs? You save this, correct? Labor? Yes, how about this? 75. Now, out of the fixed overhead, how many percent is applicable, is variable? Because fixed portion is 80%, correct?
Yeah.
So how many is variable? Only 20%. Yes? And selling cost, is it variable or you know? Selling cost, what does it say? Selling costs are based on commission rate. So if you don't sell, no commission, correct? So again, that is what? Saved. So how much money will you save? Totally. Can you tell me? How many is the total? Alright, so how much? 450, right? Okay, let's take a look. Do we shut down or not? So first, you lose the revenue, agree? Okay. Then you save the material, the labor, the variable overhead, 20%, correct? And the selling. So, what happened? Should they close it down or no? Look what happened. You save so much cost, but you're losing what? You're losing 150 more of revenue. Do you understand? Okay. So really, correct? It's like a contribution. This is the contribution you will lose, right? It's a contribution you will lose. Okay. Because then, right? You make 600. But you're going to, okay? You're going to save only 450, but you lose 150 of revenue. It's not contribution. You lose 150 of revenue. Would you like to close or not? As overall company, you will not close because you're only saving 450 when you close. You discontinue care. Okay? You will lose 150 of revenue. Is that correct? Why will you not close? You lost the revenue of 600. Yes? Okay. Then you save, so which means the money you add up to the company is 450. Right? Right? But you also lost what? 150 of revenue. Is that correct? Because you're not going to make the sale. And you only make, okay, you save 450, which means you don't spend that, okay, you don't spend that, but you also lose the revenue of 150,000 more, okay, 150,000 more, okay. Now, why? What happened? Or what you can say here is that this is your sale, this is your variable cost. This is your contribution. The contribution is supposed to pay for the fixed cost, right? So who's going to pay that now? The other products have to pay that now because now care before actually contributed 150 to paying for the fixed cost. Now the 150 fixed cost have to be paid by the other two products. You understand? So you should not discontinue pay. Okay? Product pay. Okay? Alright, so, okay? So, net relevant contribution from care is 150. Okay? Alright, so because we have to actually, okay? That's the loss that they're gonna get. So you should not really close. Because you see, look, their loss, another way to look at it, what is the loss of care? 10. Okay? If 10 is the loss of care, how many is the fixed cost? It says 80%, correct? Okay? 80%. So actually, yeah, so 160, correct? So really, 150 of the fixed cost is still paid for by care, even though it's 10,000 loss. Okay, so you don't actually need to close down care because care, as you see here, it contributes 150 to the fixed cost, which is shown here in the same place. It contribution of care to the fixed cost is 150. So you should not discontinue. Because who's going to pay for that? The other products will. Okay? So if you look, if the 150 will be paid by the other products, will the other two products still be making money? What is the profit of J and what is that two? What are the two products? L and G. 140 and 60. So the two of them have to pay for the 150. Really? You understand? Sorry, not 150. We have to get their contribution first. Okay? of each one of them. But you can calculate that. So it will reduce their profit. Alright? Now, remember, other factors is product interdependencies. If you discontinue K and they have relationship with L and G, what will happen to the sale of L and G? Will drop. You understand? So you have to find out what's the relationship of K to L and G. If you don't sell K, will the customer still buy L and G? Some customers also will actually say, oh, we come to the supplier because they have all what we need. What happens if you don't have K? Then they have to find out other suppliers who actually have K, L, and G and buy from there. Okay? So, your other products will also lose their sale if you actually discontinue K. Another, 50% of the revenue, okay, loss will impact on customer and costs. Why? Because, right, then you will, if you don't have, okay, if you don't have a revenue, then you actually will have lesser customers, of course, and then you will actually have to cover the other two products cover the cost of the expenses of the company. Okay. Now, if you don't make K, then you probably will reduce the size of your warehouse. Maybe there are machines that you need to sell off or write off. Okay. You would actually need to consider also non-using of your capital assets. Maybe delivery trucks will not be needed anymore. Okay. Redundancy. How about people? People who used to be doing and making K, what happens? What happens? They will not have any job to do anymore. Yeah? What will you do with them? Fire them? The same story as we said earlier, correct? Opportunity costs, okay, are other decisions. For example, when you used to make K, you have to buy materials from the supplier in bulk because it adds to the quantity, correct? What happens now? You reduce a big amount of your production, your supply, you go to your supplier and ask for discount, you cannot get the same discount anymore. Why? Because you are buying lesser materials. You understand? Okay? Because now you discontinued K. So your supply, it will be lower, therefore your actually discount from suppliers will be lower. Okay? And the timing of the decision also makes a very important aspect in terms of how you're going to be able to make your sales for the year. Okay. Now, what about further processing? Okay. Now, I have three products, X, Y, and Z. What do we call them again? Joint products. Okay. These are the outputs. These are the selling price at separation. This is the selling price after separation. And this is your post-separation costs. The joint processing cost is 20,000. Question: which one should be sold as it is, and which one should be sold after processing? What should we do? What should we compare? What should we compare? Selling price at separation and selling price after separation, but do we need to minus the costs? Yes. You understand? So let's take a look. So X. Let's see. How much is the incremental selling price? Sell at 3, then it becomes sell at 5. So let's see. Incremental is 2, which means how much is your total incremental revenue? What is the output? 2,500. Agree? Yes? So incremental would be 2 is your, how did I get 2 again? You remember how I get 2? Okay. So, alright, so 5 minus 2, sorry, minus 3. Is that correct? Yes. And then this one is what? 2 multiplied by quantity 25. This is given, agree? So what do we have? Increase benefit, incremental benefit or incremental cost? What's that? Incremental cost. Would you process further? Yes or no? No. Why? I have additional cost instead of making benefit, right? Can you tell me about Y and about Z? Which one should I sell as it is and which one should I process further? Okay? So, which one? What about Y? Y is what? Is Y no or yes? No. Is that correct? Is that what you got? Yes? How about Z? Yes? Okay. Yes for Z. Okay? You got that? So easy, no? Okay? Any questions here? Alright. Now remember, the joint costs are sunk costs. It's not relevant. We didn't even touch and talk about it. Okay? Alright? Now remember, joint costs can be apportioned based on quantity, sales value, or net realizable value. Okay? Now, when you describe, make decisions, don't forget that you need to know about the qualitative factors. You remember earlier I was talking to you about other things, not just what you make a profit on, but you need to look at qualitative factors. Please remember them because normally in an exam, they will ask you to calculate, for example, relevant cost or make a decision, but they will ask you also other factors aside from profits. Okay? Not only quantitative but also qualitative factors. Alright. Okay, here is another example for you to work on. Relevant costing again. Question is multiple choice. What is the total relevant cost of material B for this special order? Okay, I will leave it to you. Please give me the answer. I'll give you 2 minutes. No, sorry, 3 minutes. Okay, the answer is A. Right? Why A? Is it in stock? Yes. Will it be used? No, it will no longer be used. How many was in stock? 945. So whatever was not in stock, you have to buy it, correct? Is that correct? Okay. But what happened? The 945, you should have sold it, correct? To the vendor for 2.75. So you lose that benefit. So that is an opportunity cost. So the 2 will make up for your relevant cost. Okay, anybody needs more explanation on that? I think that's very clear, no? Okay. All right, so to summarize, okay, relevant costs. When we talk about relevant costs, what are the characteristics of the relevant costs? Again, future, in cash, and it's incremental. Right? Aside from this, what also is relevant is the opportunity cost. Okay, so when you're asked to make a statement, rely on those key rules. You understand? What are not relevant are some costs. What else? Apportion cost and committed cost. And we also saw earlier, what is the word that we use? Absorption rate. You remember in our example? Any absorption rate is not relevant. When we make decisions, okay, remember the return, if it's positive, accept. If it's negative, do not accept. Okay, such as in scenarios where you have projects. Now remember, there will be times when the projects, even if it gives a negative result, you still accept. Why? The reasons are there. You remember? You want to get more market share. You want to be more than your competitor. You understand? Okay. Make or buy decisions. What did we learn? Okay. You should look at what? Your internal resources. Make or buy. You need to actually say, which one would you buy outside? The one that is the what? The lowest what? What you buy from outside? The lower variable cost per hour or per unit. You understand? Okay, per hour or per resource that you are not having enough. How about shutting down? Okay. Shutting down, you need to look at your decisions. Will your losses, okay, or your savings be enough to cover for the loss of revenue? If there is loss of revenue, what will happen? If the loss of revenue is higher than your savings, would you close or not? Like our example earlier. If your loss of revenue is higher than your savings, would you close or not? No. No. Like earlier. Your loss of revenue is higher than your savings. No. If your savings is higher than your loss of revenue, then you close down. Makes sense. Yes? But do consider other things that are supposed to be non-quantitative that needs to be considered when you close down. Okay? Other factors. Employee factors, supplier factor, image factor. You understand? Sell at split off or process further. Now you know that, right? If you process further and your additional expense to process further is higher than your incremental revenue, you remember? X, Y, Z? Oh, you forget. You're looking at me. You remember this? This is your incremental revenue, correct? Yes? If this incremental revenue is lower than the cost, do not process further. Yes? Only if your incremental revenue is higher than your incremental cost, you process further. You got that? Okay? Okay. Alright, and then of course, as I said, qualitative factors must be considered when you study relevant costs. Okay? Any questions? I have actually one more activity, but I don't think so if we have enough time. What I'm going to do is, I know there's more time, but not for the activity that I want. I will post the activity on Google Classroom. Okay? Alright, any questions? No? Alright, can I start the next chapter? The next chapter is risk and uncertainty. Did I give you the handout for that? Oh no, they didn't bring it. Oh, you're lucky. Okay, so, alright. So we're going to discuss that first thing tomorrow. Okay, you got that? Alright, any questions? Okay, so I will let you off for today. 20 minutes early. I'm going to be killed, but never mind. We can go. Alright, so we don't have anything to do now. We're going to... Okay, so tomorrow, risk and uncertainty. I will just save all these things on our Google Classroom. Okay. Thank you for coming. I'll see you tomorrow. What did I need to say? That is not supposed to be the case. It's not supposed to replace this. We're going to use this cost to cost us out. Yes, this is what happened. If you have a special contract and you're going to get the people from working here, I need to know what's the cost of that contract, what is the labor cost. It's not only the payment, but also the loss here. Because that is not supposed to be replacing this. This is a very special contract. So this is the relevant cost to cost out this contract. Okay, that's how it is. Okay, because what I say. Don't think like an accountant when you're trying to make a decision. Because accountants will think that we're going to replace it. But when you actually make a decision, you need to actually take that as its on its own. Say, okay, I'm going to try this stuff. I will charge him whatever is I'm going to charge him plus the unwatched this. You have to pay for that. Why will I accept you? And then I'm going to I should accept you by all what I'm making from you. I should be adding to what I'm making here. So if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to charge it to you. You understand? This is the idea of the decision making there. Okay, because I'm going to accept you as a special order. That profit should be over and above what I'm making here. Because now there's a labor I'm going to use here. I'm going to get this money plus the money I'm going to make here from you. Correct? Makes sense.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm having a terrible headache. I think I finished early. Bye, see ya. Yeah, it's a day of headaches.